Inflation is way down. The biggest thing is inflation. The second biggest thing is energy. Energy is way down, and what's also down? Gasoline. Also, the biggest thing is inflation, and it's way down. The reason I don't want to talk about affordability is because everybody knows that it's far less expensive under Trump than it was under sleepy Joe Biden. And the prices are way down.
Welcome to The Resistance, and you just watched Trump lie like a motherfucker about every single economic indicator. Okay? I'm not making this up. Trump's economy is not good. I've got the data to back me up. Okay, so what did he lie about? Inflation is down. That's not true. Gas is down. That's also not true. Energy is down. Guess what? Also not true. If we look at inflation, the data shows that Trump inherited 2.4% inflation, and it's now sitting at 3.0% inflation, okay? We're at the inflation rate we were at the beginning of the year, and it started increasing after April. Make note of that. All right, so you're going to see lots of lies. For example, watch this one.
Voter turnout from Republicans was not high. Not high at all. But I think part of that reason is because Republicans, for the most part, are happy with what's happening. The border's closed. Crime is down. Inflation under Biden used to be 9%. It's now down to 3%.
All right, did you catch that? Inflation under Biden was at 9%. It's down at 3%. But like I mentioned before, he inherited 2.4% inflation, and now it's up to 3%. So under his watch, inflation has increased. Okay, that's why it's a lie. Now, if we look at gasoline prices, on the average, gasoline prices have remained above $3 a gallon, according to the EIA. And from September to October, we saw a price drop of about a price drop from $3.29 to $3.19. Now, yes, it is a little bit cheaper, but when you account for seasonal factors, the BLS reports that the index actually rose about 4.1%. So what does this mean? To put it simple, because I don't really understand it that well, is that from September to October, the prices should have dropped more. So the average price of gas should be lower than $3.19, okay? But there's some underlying inflationary pressure keeping that price higher than it has to be. And we're in the same spot with energy. Not as high as gasoline, but still higher. 1.5% inflation when you look at the index. Okay, the EIA forecasts that energy prices will be 7% higher in 2025 than in 2024. The primary driver of wholesale increases is natural gas, which is up 24% from last year's average. Okay, so energy is not cheaper. Gasoline is not cheaper. Inflation is not lower. Okay, he lies. Let's look at the job market. From January to April, we have strong growth, 100,000 plus jobs a month. But after April, something happens. In May, there's only 19,000 jobs added to the economy. In June, 13,000 jobs go away. And then in July, you get a nice little bump of 79,000. But then in August, again, back down to 22,000 jobs. So the job market is very weak. And again, no, after April, that job growth really slows down. Now, let's watch this video, and then I'm going to try to tie in everything we talked about in one explanation. All right, let's watch this.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again.
Okay, so that was Liberation Day. That was in April. And shortly after, if we follow the data, inflation began to rise. And shortly after, in April, the job growth began to slow down. Okay? So inflation rose after, and there was weakened job growth. Okay? Why is this bad? Well, when you have inflation and you have slow job growth, you are in a recipe for stagflation. Stagflation is when inflation begins to rise in tandem with weak economic growth. And this puts the Fed in a really hard place because it dismantles the tools and their effectiveness. Okay? For example, if the Fed raises the interest rate to battle inflation, the already weakened economy will take a really hard hit. If the Fed lowers the interest rate to stimulate economic growth, inflation will keep ticking higher. It's a lose-lose situation when you're in stagflation, and we try to avoid this, and the Fed tries to avoid this. But Trump's tariffs are inflationary. And not only are they inflationary, they're also affecting the job market, which is weakening the economy. So what's to come? What is going to come for us, okay? I don't know. I'm not an economist. But if we just look at the data and we look at where the trends are, it looks like the economy is going to worsen before it gets better. The Supreme Court we don't know if they're going to strike these down. They had their oral argument already about whether these tariffs are constitutional or not, but I believe that their ruling will be next year in the summer. So we're going to have many months of these tariffs that are going to continue driving inflation up. It's going to continue affecting the job market. So Trump's economic policy is doing the exact opposite of what he promised the American people. Inflation is higher. Gasoline prices are higher. Energy prices are higher. Okay? Nothing he's doing is working, and he's lying about it. He doesn't want to talk about affordability anymore. He doesn't want to talk about his failures because he's a narcissist and he can't handle criticism. And that's his greatest weakness, because he will never adjust his behavior or his actions or his beliefs because he already believes he's amazing. And anything contrary to that is fake news.